Okay, so this looks like an old grow sink, and it is an old grow sink, but it's going to be my worm compost bin. Not really my compost bin, my worm bin for worm castings. So my dad is a plumber. I asked him if he could get any old sinks for me, and he said, yeah, sure. So he got me this cool one. It's a cool red color. So my husband built this little stand. This is where my compost bins are anyways, and then here's the garden. So I got this little stand right here. The sink sits inside of it, and then you can see there's water underneath because we wanted to make sure that the water really flowed through those drains, and it does. So the sink will be inside here. The worms will be in there. We're putting this little metal thing here with a little bit of stuff coming off of it to make a little roof so it'll be shaded. It gets shade from this fence right here, but in the noontime it gets sun, so we'll put that little roof on it for shade. So right now I'm going to stain the wood because I'm going to try and make this look semi-cute, not just gross and standing out. So this is the first part. Okay, it's done. Got it all stained. Okay, so if you have a hole in your sink, well, obviously not like the drain hole, we had a hole there. So we just put spray foam in it, and then we let the spray foam dry, and then we caulked it over the foam, because I'm assuming that worms would eat the foam, because it's kind of crumbly, but I don't think they'll eat caulking. So that was the next step. Okay, so we have a bunch of these little garden stakes. You can put them in the ground and tie up your peppers to them. They're shorter ones. So the next step is we're going to make a simple frame out of them to go across this whole thing. And then I have a little bit of extra shade cloth that was just laying around. Just a sec, bud. Right here. We're going to cut this to size and staple it in. And the little guys are helping with this project today. Okay, so we got this little frame screwed together. Now I'm gonna cut the shade cloth to length and staple it on. Okay, so another thing we need to do is create some kind of barrier for these drains. We don't want any dirt or food scraps or anything to get down there, but we do want the water to drain through. So I had this random piece of wire laying around. I cut 2 pieces, one for each side, and I cut 2 small pieces of shade cloth. I'm gonna wrap this up inside of here real good, better than that, and then put it over the drain, and then I'm gonna weight it down either with a brick or piece of a brick. Brick would probably be too big for this space. A heavy rock. That way when the worms are moving around and whatever, it's not going to get jostled. They're not going to wiggle their way under, but the water can seep through and give me the amazing fertilizer in these buckets. Okay, so I made those into nice little flat packages to cover the drains, river rocks on top on each side, and then this frame has a screen attached to it, and it will go on top. And I'm going to trim this up so it just looks a little nicer, and we're still going to put this over the top just for looks, and I'm going to clean up this area. I always leaned up my trellises here, but we'll clean it up and make it look better. Okay, so I painted the buckets so they didn't look so trashy, and then the first layer goes down, and everyone does it differently, but how I'm doing it is I'm putting the first layer as I get goat bedding from my sister's goat farm, and it's just been sitting in a pile for months. So it's already, pretty composted. You can see little bits of hay and straw in there, and there's a ton of worms in it. You can see one wiggling right there, and I picked a few out for you to see. But you really don't need that many worms to start. You can just have 2. So there's a bunch in there, and there's a bunch in here. So that's the first layer. Okay, for the second layer, I put pine shavings. I have a bag of pine shavings in the garage for my little chicks, and a few of them got wet, and so I can't use them for the chickens, so I put them in here. And then now every day we can come out and put our food scraps or plant cuttings or whatever on top of here. You can do shredded paper, shredded cardboard. I'm gonna use most of our food scraps for the chickens, but like things that they don't particularly eat that well, like they don't really eat the carrot tops once they've got kind of big and woody. They don't eat all my poppies really, so I'm gonna use that kind of stuff for the worms and see if it works. So you literally just spread it on top, and then once you get a good layer on here, then I will put the shade screen on. Okay, so I got the carrot greens on top, and now you can see how this will work is I can come out here with the hose and I can water this whole thing down. And I can water this side. And eventually when I do that, like right now you can see it's dripping out, and that will progressively get darker as they have been in here longer and are creating lots of worm castings, but for now it's just like a light brown. So I have heard like you can drown worms, you know, so why would you be getting it so sopping wet? But I guess the whole point of this system is with the drain, the water seeps out, it keeps the worms moist, and then you get this great liquid fertilizer. And then every 3 months I can come back and take the worms out as best I can, and then use the worm castings for the garden. So once it's wet, I have my little shade over here. I'll put the shade on top because they don't like to be in the direct sunlight. I think this is 75% shade cloth. And then that's another reason why I wanted to have my husband screw this here, is because when it gets really hot, like in the hundreds, I have a feeling this is going to be not enough shade for them. So I'm going to put some kind of boards or something here to shade this area more. So we will see. But yeah, once this is done, I can take this and I can go water my plants, trees, whatever with it, and it's full of nutrition for your garden and an easy way to get free fertilizer and to compost your food scraps, especially if you don't have things like chickens.